All right, now this is part 4 of yoga, and this I want to talk about specifically of physical issues, okay? Now, when I was involved with yoga and I learned all the different sides and parts of the spirituality, and I completed whatever tasks were completed to be a part of the teacher training, etc. And in that process, there were times when I was in certain yoga studios and they would have different images and idols and statues and that sort of thing in the environment. And it wasn't like I was going out of my way to do anything with those idols, okay? If I was teaching a class, I was going on site to that particular location, and whatever was in the room was in the room. I wasn't creating what was in the room. I just was going to teach in that room, okay? So let's get that straight, that whoever owned the studio or put whatever, art decorations and yoga statues and all that's on them. I wasn't putting that up, okay? Now, was I gifted certain things that were yoga-like? Yes, I was. I was gifted Christmas ornaments and Buddhas and butterflies and yoga things over all the years, little knickknacks of students giving me a present. Now, did I outwardly say, hey, I want all these things? No, they were gifted to me, and the students just thought they were blessing me with something. And the point is, they sat on a shelf, or they were, you know what I mean? It wasn't like I was going out of my way to bring any of this stuff into my space. But one day, when the Holy Spirit was working through me in the way that the Holy Spirit does, this one particular day, it was go into this room, take this off the shelf, put it in this bin. Go into this room, go to this shelf, take it off the shelf, put it in this bin. And after this period of collecting all these things that were in my apartment, I was then told, go outside, take this metal can, put all the stuff that you collected in the metal can, build a fire, and burn these objects. Now, I have to let you know, this was not something that I concocted in my head at all, okay? It was Holy Spirit leading me to do these things. I didn't look at any of these little trinkets or anything, and I didn't think of me as idolizing anything, because to me, I wasn't consciously praying or bowing or having any kind of thing with these things in my mental space, okay? They were just gifts from my students for me being a teacher, and they were just saying, here's a blessing, here's a gift, I thought this was cute, here, thank you, Anne, okay? But that day, when I was asked to take all those things, put it in a metal bin, go outside, light a fire, and burn all those things, I was obedient and I burned them all, okay? There were other things after I burned all those things, and there were certain items that I was shocked, okay? But let me tell you, I again was obedient. Now, my brother, who I've had a very strange and estranged relationship with all these years, he gifted me a yoga poster, and this yoga poster was something that was in an original yoga studio in New York City, and it was like really delicate, frail, poster, and I had it laminated, which was very expensive for the size of this large poster. And it had all the different yoga poses on it, advanced poses. And it was something that was on my wall in the yoga studio. And that day, Holy Spirit was like, take it down. And I got to tell you, that was really hard, because it was a gift from my brother. It was something that I appreciated. Out of all the gifts I've ever received from him, it was something that I really, really, really did like. But that day, I was like, okay, I'm going to be obedient. And I took that down, and there was this, those bead things from the 70s that are like a separation for a doorway or a window or something. And it was like bamboo pieces, and it was in the shape of a Buddha. And somebody, again, I can't remember if it was given to me as a gift or whatever. The bottom line is, it was something that you go through this doorway and spread it open, and you're walking through a Buddha. And I just thought it was a beautiful piece of art. I wasn't like, oh, I'm doing this because I'm trying to pray to the Buddha. No. Okay. Bottom line, I was asked to take that off the wall, take the yoga poster off the wall, and any other miscellaneous things, take it outside. But I was told to put it in my car, to drive to the dump and to take it to the dump. Now again, standing in that line at the dump that day, I was having all these second thoughts, and I'm like, I really like this poster. I really like this Buddha, opening thing. Is this really necessary? But again, I was obedient, and I took it and put it into the dumpster. Now, I want you to understand, did I appreciate these gifts? Yes. Did I think that I was doing anything in my personal beingness to violate God or to do anything to be disobedient to God? No, I just thought I was doing physical fitness. I just thought this was, the asana postures of how to move from this pose into that pose. That's all I thought it was. I did not think I was doing anything wrong, okay? Okay. Now I want to talk about a particular church. So I was really active in this one particular church, and it was a mission church. And I was invited into this conversation, and the pastor asked me if I would like to sit down at the table with all these other men who were pastors and teachers. And I was not a pastor, I was not a teacher, I was just a member of the congregation that was invited to have this seat at the table, okay? And as we were having this conversation, this was during a national convention where all these people from different countries, and it was a mission church, had come together, and many of these people were talking about the topic of yoga. Now, mind you, I was having my own little thing about yoga, but this was before all of these things had morphed for me to burn all this stuff. This was pre that, okay? I'm sorry I'm saying this at this point, but here it is, okay? So this pastor was talking about yoga, and he was in India, and another pastor was talking about being in Thailand, and all these preachers that were in different locations were talking about the idols and the statues and this and that. And then this is where I asked them a question. I'm like, where's your office located? And they're like, well, it's in this building. And I'm like, did you choose all the artwork and all the sculptures for that building? No. Well, do you pass any sculptures on your way to your office? Well, yeah, of course. Do you think that you're bowing down to any of those things when you walk past those things that are not of your choice? Well, no, I'm a Christian. I don't, And the point is, they were trying to make a point out of practicing yoga and saying that it was not okay and that it's not just physical fitness. And I was trying to say that it is physical fitness if your mind is focused on Jesus Yeshua and not on these other, idols and, gods and goddesses. So the bottom line is, this particular pastor in this conversation at the table with all these other pastors took up for me and was like, Anne is a really strong person in our Bible study and in our classes, and she's an excellent student, and her heart is in the right place and her mind is in the right place. And I think that what she's saying about yoga and about meditation should be heard. And so the point is, I felt that at that time in my life that I was being encouraged to still continue with yoga. Okay. And I did, because I felt like I was also being supported. Now, there were other pastors at that table that were not in agreement with that pastor or with me. And they were like, no, you shouldn't practice yoga at all. And it's demonic, and it's this and it's that. And there was a woman who had overheard the conversation, and she started to interrupt the conversation, and she wasn't welcomed in the conversation. This was a private conversation, but the point is, she really interfered in this conversation, and she started talking about how she had started practicing yoga and that it had opened all these doors, and she was all messed up and her body was messed up and all this stuff. And in that moment, I was like, I don't know what kind of meditation you were practicing, but the kind of meditation that I practice is different from that. Therefore, maybe you were just opening yourself up to something because of how you were practicing it. I don't know what you were doing. And again, she was like, you better beware. So the point is, these other pastors took up for me in that moment. So bottom line, at that point in my life, when, should I put yoga on hold or should I continue being a yoga teacher? I was encouraged by the congregation that I was practicing and under the umbrella of, that I was an excellent yoga teacher, an excellent fitness teacher, and to keep doing what I was doing, and I did. So Again, I'm just trying to share that I did bring it to the cross. I did bring it into my network, and I asked full-heartedly. And at that time, the Holy Spirit was like, you can still do it, okay? I was not asked at that time not to do it. It wasn't until later that I was asked to put it on the altar and to give it up. All right, I'm going to stop here and then move on in the next video.